What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go over my 2,000 point experimental Prototype Cadre, the detachment that we just got that came out yesterday. So we're just going to jump right into it. So every time I play my Tau, I always play a Crute style or an auxiliary style part in my list. I always play a Montcalm style in my list, and I always play a Kaoyun style in my list. So first we're going to go over the auxiliary style. First we have 10 Crute carnivores for sticky objectives. They have high OC. They're good for screening, and they also have a 7-inch scout move. Other than that, they're really just there to screen, score me some points, sticky my home objective, and then ultimately die. That's usually how it goes when these guys come onto the board. Next, we have 3 Rampagers. So I've been getting pretty good with Rampagers. I've used them quite a few times. The great thing for them is that they can sort of sit behind the Crute carnivore screen, and when people charge the Crute carnivores, or if I'm playing like a pusher army like Orcs or Chaos Space Marines, Creations of Bile, any sort of army that wants to really gain ground on me like World Eaters, they can sit behind my screen, preferably behind a piece of terrain so my crew don't just get shot. And if you try to push through that piece of terrain and charge my Crute carnivores that are screening, I can heroic intervene. And because heroic intervention is technically a charge move, their charge mortals go off. So that can work really well as a combination, using the carnivores as a screen, using the Rampagers as melee protection. Then we're going to go right over to the Vespid. Now, the Vespid are really just going to be here to screen my backline and basically just go up and down every turn and score me secondaries. That's really their only use. Other than that, don't really care too much about their damage output. Just want them screening my home objective and doing uppy downy things. All right, so next we're going to go into the Pathfinders. Now, the Pathfinders, I will usually run the -2 to charge drone, or obviously the infiltrate drone. They can be pretty good in this detachment because essentially one of their drones gives only their pulse weapons plus 6 inches. But in this detachment, all of their weapons get plus 6 inches. So I think that obviously that pulse accelerator drone would be useless. So either the -2 to charge drone or the infiltrate drone could be good on both of these. And then I always run the ion rifles just because it's more shots and they hit on 5. So the rail rifles will usually miss. But yeah, so that's my Pathfinders there. They're either going to play my natural expansion objective, or hold my backline if the backline, if my home objective matters and the Vespid want to go do some other things. The Pathfinders can play my home objective pretty well. Then we have some stealth suits, obviously for guiding, secondaries, screening. Damage output is not that great. The plus 6 inches on their weapons, it could be pretty good on the Melta though. But the really good thing about these guys is they have the homing beacon, which allows me to rapid ingress for free once per game per unit. So I have 2 stealth suit units here that will both be able to allow me to do that. Usually I only do it on 1 unit because I want to rapid ingress pretty early in the game and get all my damage output on the board, so I can kill as many things as I need to. But yeah, that's really all the stealth suits are going to be used for. Then we're going right into my Warlord, which is Shadowsun. In this detachment, I think she can be pretty good with her meltas gaining 24 inches, right? So the Flechette pod will also be 24, and then the missile pod will be 30 inches, I believe. And then she's a lone op, right? She can do secondaries. She obviously gives reroll ones to hit. And then I think a big thing in this detachment will be her ability to gain a CP back on a 5+, because I think that we have some really strong stratagems that we're always going to want to use. So I think that she can be good for that. Next, we're going to go into Farsight. So I have Farsight with the Fire Knife double plasma unit because getting full rerolls and +1 to wound with when I'm in 9 with strength 8 AP3 for 3 can really help punch up into vehicles, into heavy infantry. So I like this combination, but I can be flexible and I can have Farsight with the plasmas, or depending on my matchup, I can come over here and I can have my Enforcer Commander run with the Fire Knives. Now, the Enforcer Commander, he has the Thermoneutronic Projector, a Cyclic Ion, and 2 missile pods, right? So the reason why I gave him the Thermoneutronic Projector and I only gave him that one flamer is because I feel like that flamer is pretty good by itself. I really don't want to max him out with 4 flamers because I want him to be flexible and be able to also play into this unit, the Fire Knife with plasmas, if I need him to. But right now I have him with 3 Star Scythe double flamer unit because obviously with the stratagem of being able to re-roll your attacks can be pretty good with this unit. But if he wants to go and play in this unit here, that flamer can be very, very helpful for things like split firing, right? If I really need to take off a couple Marines, somewhere else, I can have that 18-inch flamer, doing 2 damage to try to take off those Marines while shooting all of my main weapons somewhere else, right? So I think that Farsight is also very flexible because he gives +1 to wound within 9, and we have the ability to use free stratagems with him. So if he is with the flamer unit, I'll have 18-inch flamers. I'll be able to lone op them, right? The 18-inch lone op for free with Farsight. And then essentially you have to come into Overwatch range to deal with these crisis suits, right? So I can do that with the Enforcer Commander. Obviously, I'll have to spend a CP, but if I have Farsight in the unit, then I can do it for free, or I can spend a CP and then have a free Overwatch waiting for somebody. So Farsight and my Enforcer Commander can be really, really flexible in those 2 units, just depending on the matchup. Then I have a Coldstar Commander with the Fusion Blades enhancements. And then obviously he's going to have 3 Meltas and then plus the Fusion Blade and 1 Cyclic Ion. And he's going to be with the Sunforge. He's not going to be very flexible. He's really just going to, run with the Sunforge the whole, in any matchup, just to really be a really fast vehicle puncher with the Sunforge being able to go up to strength 10. And I believe he will actually be able to go up to strength 13 on his special fusion and strength 10 on his other fusions. That's going to be a ton of damage output. So they're really, really just going to be targeting vehicles and just trying to take them out. Then, so right here, I have a solo broadside, but in my list, he is a solo Enforcer Commander with the Supernova Launcher and a shield generator. Now, so the thing that I want to try with the solo commander is I want to try to give him the fallback and shoot ability plus a shield generator, a cyclic ion, and then the supernova launcher. That way he can kind of be flexible and he can do secondaries. He can shoot things, and if he does get charged or piled into, I can fall back and still shoot. And I would give the solo commander a marker light so I could have some extra guiding if I need it, right? Or you could run a solo broadside, which this is a missile side, which is all the guns. But I do want to try solo commander. I just do not have an extra solo commander model. So I think that you could either run a solo broadside or a solo commander. Then going over here, we have the railhead, the hammerhead with the railgun, 2 seeker missiles and smart missile systems. So the reason I'm choosing this is because the area that I'm in is a very heavy armor meta. So when I went to the GT recently, I really wish I would have taken this guy because there was a ton of tanks that didn't have invulns that he could have just popped in one activation. So I really want to try the railhead out with all the heavy armor in my area. Then I have two broadsides with all the guns. And they're going to have the rail guns, they're going to have the smart missiles, the seeker missiles, and the missile pod drones. Now, these guys I'm really going to want to use as use the free rapid ingress ability with the stealth suits, and use the stratagem to give them sustained or lethals or both. Right, I feel like that is going to be really strong on broadsides. It's going to be really intimidating for people because they just have a ton of weapons. Yeah, but so essentially they're going to be just my gun line unit that's going to try to target, you know, heavy infantry or heavy tanks or maybe mounted units. So they're really good. They can kind of take out anything you want them to. And then with the -1 to wound strat, I feel like that would be very good on broadsides with having 8 wounds apiece, T6, and -1 to wound. That's very good for them. So I can't wait to try that out. Next, we have a ghost kill. So the ghost kill, I always have the cyclic and the fusion. I feel like the fusion will be a lot better in this detachment given the extra range. So he can stay outside of lone op range and still shoot you with all his weapons, which I feel like will be really great. Now, everybody kind of knows that the ghost kill is good at essentially everything. He can score primaries, he can score secondaries, he can fall back and shoot. He has long range with relatively good damage output, so he can take, sometimes he can punch up, sometimes he does whiff, but ultimately the ghost kill I think is just an all-around great model for the Tau, and I always want to take one with him, or I always want to take one of them. And then next we have a Riptide. Now the Riptide is modeled with a burst cannon, but I always use the ion accelerator because it's just better. And I usually use the plasma, but this time I think I would use the meltas given the plus 6-inch range, and also being able to get those meltas up to strength 10 could be useful. You know, it's situational, but it could be useful. So the Riptide is really good at holding down the mid board, really good at, holding primaries. Not much of a secondary guy unless it's, killing something off of an objective or, secure no man's land, extend battle lines, things like that. But yeah, so that's my 2,000 points of experimental prototype cadre. I hope you guys liked the video and thank you for watching.